On one side, you had the songwriting duo of Lennon and McCartney. On the other, the lone, tortured genius of Brian Wilson. This wasn't just a competition for the charts, it was a battle for the soul of music itself. For decades, fans have wondered what truly happened behind the scenes of this rivalry. Now, Paul McCartney has finally broken his silence, offering a raw and revealing look at his relationship with Brian Wilson, a connection defined by deep mutual respect, intense creative jealousy, and a shared tragedy that nearly destroyed one of them. The revelation: he was my only real competition. McCartney's breaking silence moment isn't just about nostalgia, it's an admission of how much he feared and admired Wilson's mind. Paul recently confessed that when he first heard the Beach Boys' God Only Knows, he was floored. He famously called it the greatest song ever written, but privately, it sparked a panic. Paul reveals that Pet Sounds was the primary reason the Beatles created Sgt. Pepper. He admits that Brian Wilson was the only person who could make him feel musically inadequate. The tragedy, Paul notes, is that while this rivalry pushed the Beatles to heights they never imagined, it simultaneously pushed Brian Wilson over the edge of a mental breakdown. The heartbreaking reality: a mind under siege. The most poignant part of Paul's reflection is his discussion of Brian's mental health. As the Beatles celebrated the success of Sgt. Pepper, Brian Wilson was spiraling. Paul opens up about the sad details of visiting Brian and seeing a man paralyzed by his own perfectionism. The tragedy of Brian Wilson's life was that the same brain that created Good Vibrations began to turn on him, manifesting as auditory hallucinations and severe paranoia. Paul speaks with a sense of survivor's guilt, acknowledging that the pressure of competing with the Beatles contributed to Brian's decision to shelf his masterpiece, Smile, for nearly 40 years. It was a creative death that Paul watched from afar with profound sadness. 2025. The Living Legends. Today, in 2025, the rivalry has been replaced by a beautiful, fragile friendship. Paul McCartney, at 83, remains a global touring force. Meanwhile, Brian Wilson, at 83, has recently faced more personal tragedy, including the passing of his wife, Melinda, and his own struggles with dementia-related symptoms. McCartney's decision to speak out now is a tribute to his peer. He wants the world to know that without Brian Wilson, there would be no modern Beatles. The silence he broke is a final, public embrace of the man who was his greatest rival and his most respected friend.